So, a very warm welcome to you, Mr. Pankaj Vyas. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be in conversation with you today. For our viewers, a quick introduction. Mr. Vyas heads Siemens Technology and Services in the capacity of a Chief Executive Officer and a Managing Director. Thanks for accommodating our request. So, today we have few questions for you. We are seeking your expertise around various topics around blockchain, around IoT, AI, around technology as a whole and where the sector is really moving forward to. My first question really is around artificial intelligence. So when we say AI, it has shown a lot of potential. I want to understand from you, how does this shape the future of our industry? And what are the strategies that you are really putting into place to kind of harness its potential?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, thanks Sunay for having me here. Absolute my pleasure to have this conversation, and especially around the topics that you just talked about, because every few decades we have this disruptive technologies and topics that come on the way, and they really change the direction of the industry and the overall the world that we live in. Talking about specifically, before I get into artificial intelligence, I would really want to talk about a little bit as to what has happened in last few decades, right, in terms of technology. If you look at compute and communication specifically, right, in compute we have moved from mainframe all the way to the compute in the iPhones, right? We have compute even in the smaller devices, like your wristwatch, or even in the Fitbit devices or your healthcare devices, right?
Right.
So really the compute size has shrunk, power has increased, the compute power has increased, but the amount of power it consumes, that is also optimized. That's clearly a trend on compute, correct? Also, interesting things which got added in compute is, at the same time we have things like GPU, where you have a huge compute available to do a serious data crunching, correct?
Right.
But then also cloud accessibility, or the compute accessibility has also improved with compute sitting on the cloud now. So compute has become pervasive also, right? So it's become smaller in size, it's pervasive, it's accessible, it's a lot more powerful, it's a lot more energy efficient. That's happened on compute. Then let's look at what happened in the communication. I mean, you look way too young to even relate to what I'm going to say. But data used to come on a copper lease line, and I still remember when I used to, when at times when I used to work from home, in late 90s. Data speed used to be like 120 kbps or 256 kbps and something of that sort. And now when we talk about, it's few hundred mbps, and some places even more than that, right? So clearly our communication has changed. There's a lot more in the long range communication, be it now coming all the way to 5G. In short range communications, we have things like Wi-Fi, we have Bluetooth, we have LoRa, and whatnot. So communication has also improved a lot. So when you put all of these things together, clearly it opens a big possibility for what can be done in different industries, right? And we have seen that a lot of industries, uh, who have jumped on this bandwagon much faster, right? And especially if you look at the industries like banking, you look at basically banking and financials, entertainment, education, a lot of industries which sit with soft assets. When I would say they don't really have too much of hardware to deal with, they have adopted this technologies much faster, and they have done things. Now, coming to the industries that I'm talking about today, clearly from Siemens' perspective, it's mobility, it's industries, which is manufacturing, right? Manufacturing for discrete and process both, and then the infrastructure. Within the infrastructure, it's electrification and the building infrastructure. Now, this industry specifically, they had to wait for this technologies to mature enough and say, hey, this is when is the right time to kind of start taking lead on that. And that time is now. And clearly we see that these industries are really infusing more and more newer technologies. Now, specifically on artificial intelligence, it's really about what you do with the data. Now you have all your field devices, and everything is connected with high end and next generation sensors, and with new communication technologies that we talked about. Data is coming out, and then clearly, a very fair expectation is that I should be able to get the intelligence out of this data. I should be able to inference, and I should be able to have actionable insights to start with, and I should even automate some of those actions, right? That's at a very high level artificial intelligence that we are talking about. Now, in our industry, it's a little bit interesting because if I have to do a predictive analytics, for an example, right, on a machinery, you need certain data points to train a certain model and say, hey, now you are ready to train this and predict certain failures. But then how many data points you really have of those failures? Not those many as you would have in other cases. So in our industries, just an example that I gave you, there are many more examples where the way we have to handle artificial intelligence is different. It's just the way we have to train our machine learning, our models is different. But having said that, just the possibility that artificial intelligence kind of a technology can help you predict a certain failure, let's say in manufacturing, or certain leakage in the energy in the buildings, or certain leakage in the transmission lines in electrification, that's a huge saving. I mean, just imagine the kind of cost savings that you're going to have, the kind of productivity savings you're going to have. So clearly we are seeing a lot of demand coming for reasons like that. In general, artificial intelligence or not, in general, when we talk to our customers in our industry, the ask to have the technology really stems from one of these reasons. Okay, one, not one, I would just say that first, customers want higher productivity, they want higher efficiency, they want higher quality, they want more safety, they want better quality again, right? They want agility, because the way today consumer behavior is changing, you have to have an ability to respond way faster than what you are doing. So all of that put together, that's how the technology adoption is happening in our industry. And artificial intelligence is also looked at one of the means to make sense out of data faster enough, ahead of time, and do some things proactively. Now that's on the industry perspective. Within Siemens, what are we doing about it? If you have read about what we have done in last 1 year, Siemens has launched a platform called Siemens Accelerator, and it's a platform. Basically, it's really about moving more and more towards open ecosystem, where we really want our products to open up and have more data coming out for the ecosystem players to start making use of it and create value for our customers. So that's a direction that we are taking, wherein we are becoming more and more open ecosystem player, letting the data from the systems come out in the ecosystem, and then of course have this AI model development for different use cases. And when it comes to the deployment of AI models or the use cases, that can be anywhere at the field devices or the edge devices or in the cloud. That's a strategy that we are working on, Sunai. I hope that answers the question you had.
That does answer my question. And I think I also understand that there's a very strong focus when it comes to customer experience from your end. And I think that is how you're staying ahead of the curve. So wonderful to know that. In terms of IoT now, um, as an expert, as a leader coming from this company, I want to understand from you, how has it really changed the competitive landscape in the industry, IoT really? And maybe, if you see that potential, how are you again harnessing or leveraging it to, be the market leader?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, just going back to what I just said, right? With this compute and communication things have evolved so rapidly in last few decades. That opened an opportunity for us to connect the field devices or bring the connectivity to the field devices with high quality sensors, which was not possibility earlier, right? I mean, that's where it starts. I mean, if you have to have Internet of Things as a very broad thing, you're going to say, hey, look, I have field devices which are connected to the edge or the cloud, and then there's edge, something happens on the edge, and then the data goes to the cloud, right? But for all of that to happen, you have to have first your field devices really giving the data that you need. I mean, you have to have a real connectivity in place with the high quality information or data that's coming out of it, right? That's where it starts, and that's where the compute and communication evolution has definitely helped us, right? That's one part of it. The other part is just to give you a very interesting statistic. A modern smart factory today generates about 2200 terabytes of data per day. Okay, A smart manufacturing
Some-
unit I'm
Yeah.
talking about. That's a lot. I don't know how many Netflix movies that would be. I mean, that's just my reference point nowadays. So, but that's the kind of data we are talking about, right? But for that's true for smart manufacturing units, the ones which are like, green fields which have come into existence in last 5 years or so, or 10 years or so. But the ones which have been around for 20, 30 years are the ones that they don't really have this data coming out. But then how do you do that? I mean, you just cannot let go brownfield deployments not getting the benefit of the new age technologies. And that's when again edge compute and the IoT, the basically connecting your brownfield setups with the IoT connectivity and the sensors, and putting then edge compute on premises, right? Which basically what you're doing is all your old field devices which did not have the right compute and communication, they are being augmented by this edge device on premises, which is going to give you the kind of compute and communication you need, right? So that's
Right.
that's where the overall IoT theme is playing out. The new setups are ready with the connectivities that they need. I mean, be it manufacturing, be the newer buildings, be the new mobility solutions, they are ready with what they need. But the brownfield ones are the ones where we are really saying, hey, look, how do we make them IoT enabled? How do we plug in edge compute there so that we really enable them to start taking use of the newer edge technologies? So that's really that's how we really see the IoT theme playing out. I mean, so the business function that I'm part of, it's called Siemens Advanta, and earlier we were even called Siemens IoT, right? So there's a reason why there's a reason why it was called IoT, because it really starts with connecting all your field devices, your existing setups to the edge or the cloud compute, and then you are able to do something about it. So that's how IoT is really playing out for us tonight.
Wonderful. Now I understand why this subject is also so close to your heart. The company itself was, doing IoT being, the main focus. Now, sir, when it comes to blockchain,
Mhm.
uh, we see that it has gained a lot of attention when it comes to kind of enhancing the trust and transparency and, during the manufacturing processes. How do you see? What are your 2 cents on that?
So I would say it's an evolving technology. Okay, I mean there's a lot of this, I don't know. I mean, if I can use a word mystery or not, but still, I mean, blockchain is evolving. People are trying to find good use cases for it, and of course, a trace and track being one of the use cases, definitely, which is very valid use case, which does make your supply chain work on a very trusted platform or a very trusted network, and that's what the blockchain is clearly used for. An interesting use case that we figured out and we have put it to use also, and if you go and read up, there's a solution called Sea Green, okay, in Siemens. And this is really about what we said. Hey, look, of course, trace and track is important, and you have to optimize and bring agility in the supply chain, and we do that. But then there's another element which is about, can I use blockchain and create a trusted framework or a network so that I can even track carbon footprint of the components coming into the supply chain? Okay, so if somebody says, hey, this is the emission and this is the kind of usage that I have had while building my product, or the component that's going to come into our product, if there's a way to have a trusted element saying, yes, that's what's coming into my system, I can trust on that and build a good kind of a draw basically upstream and downstream for my product on the carbon footprint. And that's why we are using blockchain today. And it's really being appreciated a lot, because as you talk about sustainability, and I'm sure the conversation is going to be incomplete before we touch on that topic. That's the another use case that we are looking at from blockchain perspective. But as I said, it's definitely evolving, and especially when we see what we have seen in last few years, how supply chain has been uh, you know more volatile than before, right? And there's a need to have a lot more supply chain resilience, but that means you have to bring in more and more partners in your supply chain. But when you start doing that, you might open yourself to certain risks. And then that's when solutions which are based on technologies like blockchain, which can give you trusted network, trusted platform to work with different partners in supply chain or in ecosystem, is definitely a solid use case that we are working on.
Wonderful. As you mentioned, obviously there's a lot to uncover when it comes to blockchain, right? But something which also caught my attention is sustainability that you mentioned. Your views when it comes to technology, sustainability going hand in hand. How does the future really look like for us? Maybe the industry's purview on that. But also, what is Siemens really doing in that space? How do you see yourself internally putting into practices which help you grow further with a lot of sustainability at hand?
Absolutely. No, you're right. I mean, one of the major themes, and rightfully so, correct. I mean, there's only one world that we have, and it's really up to us what are we going to leave behind here, right? And I can clearly see that more and more businesses are getting serious about this type, this concern that we have on the table. More and more communities and nations are also getting serious about this topic, right? Now, one of the strategic priorities that we have at Siemens, it's called technology with purpose, right? And the moment you start with technology with purpose, I mean, definitely, sustainability starts at the top over there. I mean, clearly that's the way we clearly see. Now, all the elements that I talked about earlier, what customers ask us for. I mean, when you're really asking for, let's say, better quality, what you're saying is that you want lesser rejections, right? And that means lesser wastage. That has impact on sustainability, correct? When you're saying, hey, look, you know what, I want better way to basically have more productivity, that I can do more with less. It's really about how am I using my energy, what's my energy consumption pattern, are there certain leakages over there, what more can I do about it? Again, there's an element of sustainability over there, right? So clearly, technology solutions are helping the ones that we might say, hey, look, is it different? Is it that business parameters and sustainability parameters are disjoint? Not really. I mean, just look at a couple of things that we just talked about, correct? So we are very clear that people, profit, and planet, they can go together. They don't have to be disjoint, right? So we seriously believe in that, and we absolutely practice that, right? Some of the internal things that we are doing in-house, right? Our own solutions like Sea Green that I just talked about, correct? Which is really saying, hey, look, our responsibility does not stop at, okay, when I'm shipping a product out, that things are fine, that I have not consumed bad energy, I'm more in green energy and all of that. But we are going a step ahead. We are saying, hey, we want to look at what comes in our supply chain system, what kind of carbon footprint this upstream supply chain is basically doing. So we are looking at those kind of things in solution like Sea Green. We have another solution that we call Gavatar, and it's basically a solution that's built internally by using our own low-code platform called Mendix, and wherein we are basically monitoring all our manufacturing sites or our offices sites for what kind of energy consumption that's happening. I mean, unless you know what's going on, there's no way that you can act on, right? I mean, it really starts with monitoring certain right kind of data points and things like those. So clearly, we are doing those also. So that's really our focus, our commitment as an organization to the world is that we will reduce our carbon emission by 55% by 2025, right? And also we will move to 100% clean energy by 2030, and we are already at 77% of the energy that Siemens uses or buys, it's green energy. Okay.
Wonderful.
So it's taken quite seriously. And then some of the examples that I just talked about, technology with purpose, not only for our customers but for ourselves also. We consciously make sure that uh, we are really taking people, profit, and planet together, and not just one aspect.
I think it's really good to understand that the company is taking strides towards the right direction. Sustainability is not just a buzzword, but is actually being used practically for a better future. Mr. Vyas, that brings us to the end of our conversation today. Absolute pleasure learning about all these things from you. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunay, for having me. It was great having conversation with you. Thank you.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure.